Good afternoon. At approximately 11:22 p.m. last night, my officers responded to the LA Apartments at 1102 58th Street in regards to a shots fired call. Upon arrival, officers found 14-year-old DeQuavion Taylor inside the apartment suffering from a apparent gunshot wound. I want to pause right here and recognize the loss of life and extend our thoughts and prayers to the family of Mr. Taylor. Most of you will recognize this address as it's near the Little League baseball fields where we have seen the disturbing images of young players and their families laying on the ground because of the sounds of shots fired coming from the LA Apartments. Last night's tragedy was no accident. It was the planned assault and attempted robbery of individuals involved in illegal sales of narcotics, and this has to stop. During our preliminary investigation, we have identified 3 other individuals ages 14, 17, and 24 that were in the apartment with Mr. Taylor. It appears that Mr. Taylor and the 3 other individuals were the target of an attempted drug ripoff by rival gang members and engaged in a gun battle with the would-be robbers. This is what resulted in the senseless loss of Mr. Taylor's life. My department has extended a great deal of resources at this location as well as several other locations and hotspots in targeting gang violence. Our crime suppression unit, our gang unit, and patrol officers have been targeting this area as well as others in an attempt to combat the ongoing gang and drug problem. We have some promising leads in this case and hope to have the suspects identified and in custody soon. We can't win this battle alone, and I'm asking for your help and the community's help to bring these criminals to justice. I'm going to stop right here and open it up for questions. I also have Assistant Chief White and Assistant Chief Barron to talk about their particular divisions and bureaus' efforts in the fight of this drug problem.
Chief, you mentioned that you've already started stepping up patrols, taking action to engage these hotspots. What has been done so far? Because obviously we see the violence is still continuing. Have we made a dent? Is this starting to slow down? Or are we starting to get this under control?
Our crime suppression unit and our Texas anti-gang unit, these guys are working hard to make arrests. And I know Assistant Chief Barron has some data and statistics in regards to the specific efforts of these units. I'll let Chief Barron talk about those efforts.
Thank you, Chief. Again, extend our sympathies to the family. And thank you all for being here. And I want to commend the hard work of our investigators and officers that are out in the field, and also the officers of our partner agencies, Lubbock County Sheriff's Department and Texas DPS, who respond to these gun violence incidences with us. Those officers have been at work since the inception of our call to this incident. Like the chief said, we have several promising leads that we're following up on. And in regards to your question, Julio, since the first of this year, TAG has conducted 35 operations directly toward stopping gun violence. We have found that hybrid gangs and gangs are responsible for a lot of these, and that's where we have focused our efforts. We track gun violence weekly. We develop a map that we send out to all our law enforcement partners and especially our patrol division. And we focus on hotspots of where these instances have happened, and we react to where those change. And we have made an impact in at least one area where we were able to really focus our resources. We saw a drop in the gun violence in that area, and we have recently moved those resources around based on what we've seen on our mapping, and we hope to have an impact in those areas as well. We also work with the U.S. Attorney's Office and focus on the Project Safe Neighborhoods, and that is directly developed to influence these gun crimes because that allows us to take assaultive offenses involving guns and other violence to the federal system instead of the state system, and that helps us a lot. We also have a habitual offender program with the Lubbock County District Attorney's Office, and we try to refer those cases through that system as well.
Do you know how many times police this, residents told us that it feels like shootings happen there all the time.
Yeah, we had our crime analysts do some work in regards to that. Over the last 2 months, we have had over 155 calls to that apartment complex. 9 of those calls were in regards to shots fired. This is a ongoing issue that we've been trying to address, and I think the most disturbing thing to me right now is the age of the individuals involved, because it's not only this incident, but several of the incidents that Chief Barron talked about in regards to the Texas Anti-Gang Unit and our Crime Suppression Unit. We're coming in contact and engaging these individuals that are in these hybrid gangs, and they're getting younger and younger. And it's absolutely no excuse for a 14-year-old to be involved in a sale of guns and drugs, and to have a gun on him, and to be getting involved in a gun battle with other individuals, and they're just as young. We need our parents and our elders to step up, because they know who these kids are. They see them. They know what they're up to. They need to step up and yank these guys' chain, yank these kids' chain, and pull them back into line. These are not older adults doing this. These are young kids that don't know what the value of life is, and they're out there, doing drug rips and getting into gun battles. We are truly lucky that no one innocent or not involved in this particular incident got hit by any of the rounds that were discharged last night.
Chief, when we see a spike in certain crimes, we know that part of the solution is boots on the ground. Do we have enough boots on the ground for this? And what are we doing to fix that?
Right now, we are down quite a few officers, and what we're working through the budget process is to look at our pay and benefits to make Lubbock more attractive to hire more officers. So we're working through that in the budget process. I want to give Assistant Chief White the opportunity to talk about patrol efforts, because I know we've stepped up uniform patrol effort in those locations as well, in an effort to combat crime and have a larger presence in that area.
Thank you. So we use the data that Chief Barron was talking about to identify the areas of town where gun violence has increased, and then we deploy our patrol resources according to that data. So we increase our patrol efforts in those areas where we see more gun violence, and we do that through redirecting our patrol resources, through hiring officers for overtime, through our partner agencies, specifically DPS and the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office for marked patrol units. And we concentrate more resources in those areas. So using the data and using the resources we have available, and then hiring extra resources, is how we've been handling that on patrol.
For the 3 suspects, or the 3 people you've identified as suspects in this investigation, are you able to provide descriptions of them that people at home can watch out for?
Neil, we have a description.
Say again?
Are you able to provide descriptions of the suspects you named?
We're still actively making sure that we have the descriptions that we want to put out. We should have that very soon, and as soon as we do, we'll put that out.
And to confirm all 3 are minors?
Well, we're working to confirm that as well. We don't know for sure, but as soon as we have that information, we'll put that out.
Chief Barron, along those same lines, obviously Crime Line is an incentive for people to call in that information. What other incentives are out there for them to help in this case and identify the suspects you're looking for?
Well, I think just a safe environment would be a huge incentive. That's a crowded area, like Chief Mitchell mentioned. That's a well-populated apartment complex that is right next door to a couple of hotels and some baseball fields. I think that people in that area probably know and see persons that were involved in this. Probably saw them yesterday, probably see them tomorrow. And you can remain anonymous, you can call us, but we need some help stopping this. And the way we stop this is to work with our public and to get tips from our public that we can act on and put people in jail that are involved in this. And so I think other than the reward money associated with Crime Line, the establishment of a safe area for the people in that apartment complex and other areas of town, that's a big motivator for our citizens to feed information to us.
And for any of you, Chief Mitchell, you mentioned how this was affecting the ballparks there. Do we know, and it may be too early to know this, but do we know if this apartment specifically, maybe related to those shots fired calls that affected those ballparks?
Yeah, the data that we have is our officers responded to shots fired calls at one of the apartments at that location. So someone that was in that area had called in regards to that. And that's what Assistant Chief White was talking about is when our officers respond to those calls for service, they look around to contact the calling party to get information to see if we're going to identify who those suspects are and potentially make an arrest.
But at this point, we don't know that the individuals involved with last night's shooting are the ones who caused the other incidents?
No, sir, we don't.
Do you have a message for people who live in that area who may be feeling more on edge after this and all the other shootings that have happened?
You know, my message to them is call us. You know, we are here to assist you as best as we can. There's enough people in that area that know what's going on. We need them to call us so we can make respond, identify the people that are involved in the shots fired call or involved in illegal narcotics activity, and so we can build cases on them and get them over to our DA's office.
You mentioned earlier the concern you have about the age of the individuals involved. We have seen a large spike recently in these youth crimes happening. What else are we doing to address the youth crime in general?
Well, I think, you know, our efforts to connect with our younger community, whether it be with our Explorer program or just reaching out to them through different entities that are here in Lubbock. But we can't do it alone. I mean, we're not with these kids 24/7. You know, when we reach out to them or when they participate in one of our activities, it's for a short period of time. We are relying on those community elders, the grandmothers, the mothers, the fathers, to help us in raising smart kids and make sure they don't get involved in this criminal activity.
Do you think that the suspect or suspects actually live in that apartment complex?
I don't know that we have that information yet. That's something that Assistant Chief Barron's folks, they'll look into. All right. Thank you, everyone.